NFL Week 7 grades and takeaways for every game through Sunday night. A lot to break down. Here we go. The Bengals pull off the upset on Thursday Night Football, 33-31, a super entertaining one, a battle between the 40-year-old quarterbacks. Yeah, a game that came down to the end. Could have went either way, close one. But I was just that much more impressed with the Bengals. That is why the grades are sitting at B+ and C+. We know going into the year, but going into the game, you can't trust the Bengals defense, and they don't have Trey Hendrickson. So maybe they did just enough, but we knew this was going to have to be an offensive game, and the offense was lights out with Joe Flacco. He's able to get the star weapons the ball. They're able to run the ball effectively. This looked like a pain in the ass to stop. So that trade is already looking genius. I just can't believe the difference. I mean, I can believe it, but between Flacco and Browning, just a significant difference to this Bengals offense. Even though it was close, the Steelers were outplaying them early. I thought majority of this game, the Bengals were deserving of winning. They were just playing a little bit cleaner football, and they could do anything they wanted at offense pretty much at all times. So, and they made their kicks when they needed to, so I'm going to give them a B+. Yeah, I mean, the Steelers were right in this game, and they were explosive on offense. Rodgers made some big-time plays. I thought Flacco was maybe a little more impressive, but they both were extremely impressive. And they were able to run the ball to Jaylen Warren as well. Just so disappointed with their defense. I kind of been feeling something like this coming where their record isn't really telling the whole story. This isn't your typical, not even close to your typical top-tier elite Steelers defense. They're a little around average to probably below average against the pass, and the same thing goes against the run. I could not trust them in either of those categories. Even though the offense was lights out, they were a little sloppy with the football, and that kind of kick-started the Bengals, but you kind of could feel it with the Bengals as it was. The Bengals playing much cleaner football, but they were more deserving of winning this game, especially what they were able to do on offense. So Steelers, are they as good as their record? That's kind of what I'm worried about here. Is it going to be the same thing as it always is with them? The defense has got to step up. I can't believe this is much more of an offensive team right now, but it sure looks like you can throw on them and you can run on them. So that's kind of my worries with the Steelers right now going forward. But the Bengals, much needed win. They have life with Joe Flacco. Very easy one to grade. A+ for the Rams, F for the Jags. 35-7 shellacking the Rams. Get it done in London. I mean, yeah, first, I didn't predict 35-7, right? I didn't expect it to be this much of an ass beating, but I broke down in one or both of those videos that the Rams without Puka, they actually could be a little more unpredictable because they might show some different looks. They drafted Terrence Ferguson with all their tight ends, plans to run a little more 12 personnel, and that could throw a team off. Maybe they're saving it. McVay's known for that, and I thought maybe they would show some of that in this game, and that was actually the case here, but they absolutely dominated it. I like that they kind of could save some players throughout this game as well because they got up so big. I mean, Stafford threw 5 touchdowns. He didn't throw the ball a ton, though. Kyren Williams was very effective on the ground, but he didn't run the ball a ton, so it was just so perfect for them to not only win big, but to get up early and almost, not even coast because they kept going. I mean, Devontae Adams had a big-time game. He was still scoring at the end, but they could use a bit of everything without Puka and still win this game. It's huge. And defensively, the defense is balling out. They got pressure on Trevor Lawrence was the key. The Seahawks showed that you can do that, and that really could affect Lawrence, but the entire offense. So the Rams are a serious team, down the stretch. They have so many different looks. McVay's always got something up his sleeve, something hidden in the back pocket. They can win with the pass. They can win with the run. Again, short yards could get a little better compared to how it was earlier in the year, the Niners game as well. And defensively, they can make big-time plays on defense. So it's a team I'm really excited, not just for now. And they'll slip up at times. We saw that. But long-term, this could be a serious Super Bowl contender, and it kind of shows in a game like this where things aren't perfect going into it. You got to go to London, and then boom, you get it done at a high level. For Jacksonville, I mean, I sound like a broken record, but I've been saying it since while they were winning. They were winning games. It was awesome. They looked good. They were clutch, but they were kind of just getting by while getting all these wacky turnovers, or takeaways, I should say. And I kind of questioned, this is awesome, but is it going to keep up? What if, there's not going to be, every game's not going to be perfect like that. So what's going to happen in these past 2 weeks? Yeah, the offense especially, without starting in good field position, getting those takeaways, getting momentum. When things haven't been perfect, it hasn't been great at all. I mean, ETN was running semi-effectively, but they got down by so much, and they had to have Lawrence throw way over 40 times. It's really not ideal. Did they abandon the run a little too early? I mean, the Rams got going right away, so that was kind of the issue. But, I mean, Travis Hunter kind of broke out as this game went on, so I guess if you try to find some positives. But this is an offense that isn't consistent enough. They can't protect Lawrence, and he is a little antsy under pressure right now. And defensively, it's a defense you can throw, and you can they're decent against the run. You can move the ball on. This defense kind of relies on those takeaways. And like we said weeks ago, it's just not for nobody. It's going to keep happening. So, they got to figure out how to play when things aren't perfect. So that's my knock on the Jags. Kind of been saying they haven't been as good as the record, and that's kind of becoming more and more evident right now. They do have talent. They can work their way out of this at any time. They can create those takeaways on defense. They can be explosive on offense. They got to protect Lawrence a little better, so it could happen. It's just not happening right now. So a lot to figure out. It's a brutal one for them right from the get-go. The Bears take care of business at home against the Saints, 26-14. Pretty much controlled this entire game, had the lead the whole way, kind of felt confident, comfortable with them throughout the game. They're right there in that A- B+ range. They made some big-time plays, especially in the start of this game, and things were really going their way. I kind of want them to put these teams away, when they're making these plays and they're creating all these crazy turnovers. The fact that the Saints kind of got back in it, you're like, this should be an ass beating. What are they doing? But I wasn't overly impressed with the passing game. Didn't really need to be because they had control of the game. They were making plays on defense. They ran the ball well. But overall, they created takeaways from the start. They made plays on both sides of the ball. They ran the ball. That's what I love. They ran the ball very, very well, and they're starting to stop the run much better because at one point they were the worst run defense in football. So combining all those things I just said, they have to be in the A range for me. So, again, I wish they had control of this game, but wish they would put them away a little bit more as the game's going on here and things are going their way. But I give them an A- on this one. DeAndre Swift really tearing it up. He had a big game last week, too. Had a 55-yard touchdown off a catch last week. Even fans were kind of doubting him going into the year. Like, why aren't we getting a running back? I think everyone was kind of surprised, but even early in the year, and I've kind of been thinking I'm surprised about that. He's been very effective. I'm not trying to say he's like a top-tier running back, but I'm surprised. Right when people start kind of getting on him, he's really going off more and more here. So I like what I'm seeing from DeAndre Swift. Again, not the best running back in the world, but he's definitely playing well enough here. I thought it was more run game than pass game in this one. And it's probably because how the game was going. They kind of had the lead. They can control the clock. And defensively, I mean, the last several weeks when they've been winning, the main reason they've been winning is because they're creating takeaways. And it's kind of like the Jags. When they were winning, I'm like, this isn't going to really keep up. Can they win? It's still a question for the Bears. They're tough to project because things aren't going to be perfect going forward, but it just might be their identity. They just continue to find the ball finds them. They find the ball however you want to put it. It's been fantastic, and it's really elevating this defense. Like I said, they're starting to stop the run a little bit better. The Saints do have some running issues, but I like what I'm seeing from Chicago. I think perfect world, you put the team away. You don't let them kind of come back, even though I was pretty comfortable with them. Like I said, the ball's kind of finding them. They're finding the ball on defense, and I think they've been a little on the fortunate side on offense with that category as well, because there's a lot of times where they have a little botched situation where the ball ends up on the ground and they end up falling on it. I think there was a flag that on fourth down that ended up taking that away. And Williams did have some moments. He has some really good moments where he escapes pressure, don't know how he does it, throws on the run. It looks beautiful. Boom, first down. But he has some moments where he does a little too much improvising, tries to force it. I think he had an interception early. He had one that went right off the hands of the Saints defender, which I don't know what he was doing. And the ball ends up on the ground and they end up with it back. So they've been on the right side of all those things right now. Is that going to keep up? That's why they're a tough team to project, but I like what I'm seeing. I'm seeing improvements like we talked about. And for the Saints, I'll go with the D. They did fight. The only reason this isn't lower is because they fought back in this game. There was some moments where you're like, oh, they might be in it. And it could have been, you could either argue either way. They could have got their ass totally kicked, or they could have been a little bit more in the game if they could execute a little bit better. If that forward lateral, whatever play, forward pass play would have stood, then maybe it would have been more in this game. So there are some little things like that, but they can't run the ball. They couldn't stop the run here. Rattler was turning the ball over like crazy. Putting it that way, you'd think give them an F, but they were in that's why it's weird that they were in this game, but they found a way to kind of stay in. They didn't get, completely beat in terms of their pass defense. So maybe a D's a little generous the more I'm talking, but yeah, they were in the game at one point. So that's why they kind of stick in it. But the run game on both sides of the ball, I thought, and the turnovers is what absolutely killed them in this one. The Browns with an ass-beating win. You rarely see that. They win 31-6. I did love the matchup for them going into this game, but they sure executed it, right? So I got to give them an A+. They made some fortunate plays they made those plays on defense, and that kind of set them up. So it's not like things were absolutely perfect on offense. So maybe that would be the argument for not being an A+. But they executed. They did what they needed to do. They won this game with defense and running the ball on offense and doing enough and not letting it slip away, not blowing it. They really buckled down in the red zone when the Dolphins were backed up at their own end. They made those plays as well. So what else could you ask from the Browns here? This is what they had to do, and they did it I felt like they were going to win. I felt good, oddly confident with the Browns in this one, but they took it to another level here. Judkins with 3 touchdowns, big run. This is what they needed, and they did a little bit more than what you needed. So they get an A+. The Dolphins, a funny F+ grade. The reason it's F+ and not F, I thought there were worse teams this week, and this didn't need to be this much of an ass, being that for a little bit it felt like, all right, the Dolphins are in this and things really go their way. Achane was running pretty well, and they held the Browns passing game down. It's probably because the Browns had a big time lead, but they didn't get really beat there. And Judkins did score 3 touchdowns, and he ripped off a giant touchdown run at one point. But other than that, he wasn't super efficient, so there was some decent, don't want to be a little too generous here, but I gave him an F+. I don't think they were quite F, but right there, they did end up getting their ass kicked. And when you get beat by the Browns this bad, maybe you should get an F-. But there were some things in there that kind of said, all right, like the Dolphins could be in this game even though they weren't, but it's a brutal one for them. I had a bad feeling, bad vibes going in this week and this year, really. But the Browns, what they needed, a very impressive one on Sunday. The Mike Vrabel revenge game goes great. Tennessee fans were cheering him on when he gets there. You love to see that. Respectable. They win 31-13. They're pretty close to being an A+ because they eventually dominated this game. And when I say eventually, it kind of got going. You could feel it coming in the second half. It was absolutely dominant, too. Drake May. Oh, my God. Drake May has been fantastic. He looks like clearly the best quarterback from that draft class. With that kind of been a big debate. He wasn't even in the conversation last year. I knew he'd get there. It's a little ahead of schedule here. Love what I've seen from him. The weapons, Booty, make it big. We saw it last week. More than just Diggs kind of coming alive. They get Stevenson going. The run game looking more effective. They don't love Henderson, but it didn't matter in this game. Defense making plays. They're scoring on defense. I love the way they're playing on both sides of the ball. They did a bit of everything in this game, so I love that the run game was there. So they're very close to being an A+, but I'm trying not to give out the A+. You got to be a little strict here. Early in this game, very, very early, the Titans were outplaying the Patriots. It felt like, oh, God, this is really going to happen. It was a very small portion of the game, but it did happen. But this was pretty close to an A+ performance. I'm very impressed with the Patriots. Really excited what I'm seeing. For Tennessee, the reason this isn't in an F range is, they actually looked good early in this game. They were outplaying the Patriots. I felt like they could have ran the ball a little bit more. They have Cam Ward running back, stepping back and throwing way too many times. It's beginning to get predictable. And then when they get down by a lot, of course, it's very predictable. Bad things are going to happen. Now, he shouldn't drop the ball the way he did. I don't know that's happening a lot with teams, not just the Titans. With Cam Ward, it's kind of happened as well. But how slippery the ball looks across the league, so I don't know what's going on there. But while they had a lead, I know the pass game was working. Ward was hitting some explosive plays. They got a little carried away, run the ball. So you still have some issues with play calling here. Simmons went down. That's kind of an issue as well. But they first quarter, fantastic. That's what's keeping them from being an F. But it went back to normal, and it was an absolute disaster after that. Mainly in the second half. So they get a D-. Patriots keep on rolling. Another extremely easy one to grade. The Chiefs win 31-0. They get an A+. The Raiders get an F-. You drop a donut, but it's actually worse that Geno Smith did not throw an interception. That part's good. It's supposed to be good, but it's actually worse that he did not throw an interception and they still had nothing going. They lost 31-0 because that was kind of their issue. When they got their ass kicked, even teams pulling away because of that. When they're close, they barely lose because Geno threw a million. If only he threw one less interception, there's no excuse. There's no fix in this game. That's the problem. I wish when you lose, I hope there's a simple fix. There's nothing in this game. Absolutely nothing. They had nothing going. Maybe the run game could have got going, but they were down by so much they couldn't do anything. So Chiefs can do anything they wanted. Rashee Rice is back. That was tough for the Raiders. Really no game plan for that. Chiefs they're kind of rolling right now, both sides of the ball. They kicked it into gear offensively a few weeks ago, but especially both sides of the ball defensively in that Lions game, and it continued over into this one. So they're looking like legit top heavyweights once again. 31, I know the Raiders aren't great, but every single thing the Raiders did this offseason was awful. And I knew it at the time, but people, of course, try to convince themselves or try to convince, me or anyone else that it was great. But it's just a brutal decisions in the every from top to bottom. I'm sure the coaching staff could turn it around, but I didn't like their offseason one bit. It's not looking great, especially with a game like, again, why is it so much worse that he didn't throw an interception and this is the result? That somehow it's so much worse. I guess it makes sense. It's just there's no reasoning for this, and that's bad. So that's as bad as it gets for Vegas. The Chiefs, watch out. They're rolling. They'll be home primetime next week, feeling confident with them. It's a legit heavyweight top-tier contender. The AFC doesn't look too great. Chiefs do. The Eagles get back on track, winning 28-22, beating the Vikings. It's a weird one to grade because I thought this was a kind of an odd game. I mean, the Eagles kind of had control the whole game, but then you're like, oh, the Vikings are still in this one. It was pretty much disastrous for Minnesota in the beginning. Like, they're going to get their ass kicked. This is terrible. But the Eagles kind of went cold for a bit, and that allowed the Vikings. I'm going, how are the Vikings in this game? Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, could the Vikings win this game? It didn't happen. But first glance, it's like, well, yeah, there's a lot of positive for Philadelphia. They get back on track in the winning column. Hurts threw all over them. We knew the receivers were talented and they're able to get open and get yards. It's just a matter of Hurts seeing and hitting them. That was the main issue last week, or trying to, even the matter of taking those shots. And they did that, threw for a ton of yards. So there are good things to take away from this. But I still have kind of my issues. We still see some of the similar things here because there's a stretch where they can't do anything on offense. Really, their day, I like how they executed a little bit more, especially on third downs at the end of this game. But there was a stretch of this game where, they got nothing going and things are going their way. I mean, Carson Wentz, they had a touchdown on fourth down. They had a pick six, and then they had nothing going. They had a bomb touchdown. So the Vikings actually had, I felt like, more positive plays throughout the entire game, where the Vikings were constantly, they got inside the red zone easier than any team in the league. Credit to the Eagles' red zone defense for stepping up. The Vikings kept getting flags, whether it was self-inflicted or a touchdown getting called back. Things didn't really go their way in the kind of the calls column. Debatable off that Hawkinson touchdown should have stood. I think a lot of people believe that that typically stands. Eagles still had control of this game, but the Eagles kind of relied on those big, crazy plays. So that's kind of the thing. I still want to wait and see. What Eagles do we got here going forward? The defense, again, did allow a lot, but good Brian Flores defense. They kind of picked it apart in the right, again, not every step of the way through the game, but in the right moments, and that was the difference. The Eagles won the big moments. The Vikings have felt like, even though they're losing the whole time, they played maybe a little more complete every step of the way, even though they were losing the whole game and they had a disastrous start. So, yeah, the way this game went, the Eagles probably should have hammered the Vikings. That didn't happen. So I'm still, what we kind of needed to see, it's a step. We need to see more. I want to be a little more confident with them. So they get a B. Again, the Vikings moved the ball very easily. Couldn't really get things going in the red zone. The pass defense had some bad moments and bad moments. A little sloppy with the ball early. So they get a C+. It wasn't god-awful by any means for them. But, that's an interesting one because how that game went. But the Eagles did have control. Not the most thrilling one here, but the Panthers win 13-6 just by a touchdown. So you'd think these teams were kind of close, right? Close in grades. Not really the case. I'm going to go B- for Panthers, and they're pretty close to being a B. First, the defense played extremely well. You expect defenses to play very well against the Jets, but for the Panthers defense to where they came from, what they were, to what they are now, to hold any team to 6 points, very impressive. The pass defense was awesome. J.C. Horn had some plays on the ball. Man, did he have some plays. Nick Scorton, as a rookie, not getting enough love. He made some big-time plays. It was a team effort. I don't want to highlight just some guys, even though I just did. And offensively, once they were kind of splitting Hubbard and Dowdle a lot. Actually, at one point, Hubbard had more carries than him, and that was kind of the wrong decision. Then once they got Dowdle going a little more, then the run game was really getting going, and he was just so effective. Passing game, wasn't electrifying, obviously, but kind of did enough. And then, remember, Bryce Young went down, so that kind of, he went to the locker room all of a sudden, so that kind of affected them too. Yeah, the only knock here is like we were going, the Jets are still in this game. Like, what the hell is happening? Like, how are they still in? They have a chance to go tie it. That's kind of the knock on the Panthers. I was never really worried with them though. They had control kind of on both sides of the ball. It was kind of just putting the foot on the brake a little bit, and your quarterback went down. They still made some plays. Leggett making some plays. It's good to see that. The last couple of weeks, again, defense was lights out for the Jets. Honestly, they're run the ball semi-effectively. And what Breece Hall, Fields, even Isaiah Davis, the first couple carries, you're going off a small sample size, but the game is so young, it's so early that that's your only thing. Fields can't throw because he can't see the field. He can't get the ball out. His load time is way too long. He's bad under pressure. And Tyrod, that's like the mechanics and everything's a little bit better, but it's still bad. But I blame the play calling. That's the only thing you got going is the running game. And you just give it a go. Just pound the football, try to throw them off. They could have done it a little bit. They did it, but they could have done it a little bit more. And defensively, I guess they held up. They couldn't stop Dowdle. I think it was more of the Panthers, their quarterback going down and then hitting the brakes a little bit. But they held them to 13 points. Typically, you win football games at 13 points. So that's why I can't really put them at an F because of that. They were within a touchdown. But it wasn't as pretty as a close game. I think people will realize that. So B- for the Panthers, D- for the Jets. One of maybe the craziest game of the year, and that's saying something because there's been some wild football in 2025. The Broncos pull off a comeback, a nail-biter, a thriller, 33-32. One of the best fourth quarters in the history of the NFL. It's a tough one to grade. Overall, a little underwhelmed if you put 4 quarters of football together. Underwhelmed with these teams. So that's, where the C pluses come in play. The Giants outplayed the Broncos for most of this game, but the Broncos had an absurd fourth quarter. The Giants had an awful fourth quarter, and the Broncos end up winning the game. Absolute choke from the Giants. I think everyone could agree with that. And the Broncos, the takeaway, this could build confidence. It could build momentum, energy. Just a crazy win, an historic win with this fourth quarter, but there's also a lot of bad, and it's what's been happening the last 3 weeks. They've done the same thing almost. This one's on another level, but 3 quarters of just bad football. Even the defense, it wasn't horrendous, but expecting a lot more from the Broncos defense, and they just rely on the fourth quarter to pull it off, and they pull it off. But again, a lot of good to come from this. We talked about that, but in terms of projecting, they're going to have to play football in the first 3 quarters. They're not going to keep squeaking by, in these games. Because it turns out the Eagles maybe weren't as good as we thought, and then it was the Jets, and now it's the Giants, and the Giants are better than we thought. But this is just not going to keep happening. So the Broncos, I keep thinking, fourth quarter, what they do in the fourth quarter is going to convert into the next game, roll over, and start in the first quarter, but it hasn't happened. But they're very capable. The play calling's a little bland early, but Peyton is almost calling, it looks like he's calling plays like he doesn't trust his quarterback, or he thinks his quarterback is limited to one side of the field, and Bo Nix acts like that as well. So they do have to fix some of those things, but they're very effective on the ground throughout this game. Bo Nix's legs, J.K. Dobbins. I know the defense is better than that, but maybe I'm starting to think, were we everyone a little too high on the defense? It's really good, but were we a little too high on it? But man, choked by the Giants, but in a way the Broncos were about to choke it until they pulled it off in the end. The Giants outplayed them for most of the game. I was getting ready to say Dart he's even better than I thought, but then boom, couldn't finish it, and rookie mistake on that interception, but even a rookie can't make that mistake. That doesn't happen. The Giants win the game, but there was other factors. You can't give up 33 points in the fourth quarter. You just cannot do it. Shane Bowen's got to be under fire. That defense is brutal. You have a top-tier defensive line. I know the rest of it on paper is not that good. You got some ball players here and there. I know Holland went down. He's one of those ball players, but the rest of it outside the D-line is not too great on paper. It's definitely below average, but still, you got that D-line, and you can't figure it out. He was always a zone guy in the past in his defenses, and now it's a lot more man. You hear Brian Burns complain about dropping 8 in coverage. I completely agree. I've always felt that way. You're going to rush a few guys. It's almost contradicting. You want to bring guys, in the back end. You don't care about getting pressure, but you're still going to rush them. Those guys are essentially useless, right? So never agreed with that. It's all about protecting the quarterback or getting pressure on the quarterback, and that can change how the quarterback play. Everybody knows that. I don't need to teach anybody that, right? So that's why I never agree with just focusing on dropping guys in coverage, giving the team a chance, throwing it up to playmakers when they could catch the ball over the back. Cortland Sutton's got to be the best in the game in that situation. Mike Evans, if he's fully healthy, maybe. There's a few other ones too. T. Higgins is pretty good at it. And obviously, you got Jefferson, Chase, the stars. But anyways, Sutton's one of the best in the game doing it. So why give him a chance? So, the meltdown by the Giants. But for the most part of this game, I mean, they even defense was holding. The Broncos they held them to 0 points for 3 quarters. So a tough one to grade. Weird game. This one should have been the Giants. Another wacky ending. It feels like just the crazy college football games. I like it better when NFL and college are different because you get two, you get both. But NFL feels more college football than college football does this year, if that makes any sense. So it's wacky. The Giants we thought went and pulled it off. First we thought the Broncos pulled it off. Then we thought the Giants pulled it off. They really didn't gain much on that. All penalties. They were about to mark him for a first down and fourth down, which he did not get. I'm assuming they would have reviewed that, but there was roughing the passer anyways, and it looked like the right call, just a brutal mistake by the Broncos. And the pass interference, I do not agree with one bit. Sean Payton didn't need to run out in the field, though, so that hurt them, obviously. The Giants scoring one play, and then the Broncos, was Bo Nix even throwing to, I already forget who caught that first ball. So there was definitely some more luck. There was lucky touchdowns back-to-back from the Broncos and Giants at one point. Just overall, it didn't really feel like the two best teams, nowhere near the best teams, and maybe the best fourth quarter of all time, and there was a lot of luck involved, and the Broncos somehow pulled it off. Fourth quarter Broncos is a thing, apparently. We'll see if that keeps up. We'll see if the non-existent first 3 quarters keeps up. That's the big question here. The Colts are the real deal, 38-24. They outplayed the Chargers from start to finish the whole way. They were beating their ass for a bit. Maybe the score doesn't show it, but it kind of felt like they did still. I'm going to give them an A. Maybe you say, you give up 400 whatever passing yards. How do you get an A? You don't see that much, but it was really, I don't want to say it was part of their plan, but as this game is going on, it's almost part of their plan because the Colts had a huge lead right away, right? So what's the best part about having a lead when it comes to playing defense? You put the opposing offense in very predictable, they have to pass, very predictable passing situations. So that's kind of where the Colts wanted to be. We know they're going to pass. Let's keep everything in front of us, not give up time-saving big plays. We're going to give up catches. Let's make them grind to do it even while giving up catches. So ton of receptions, ton of attempts, ton of catches, and a ton of yards. And there was some shots down the field. So that was the reason for a lot of yards. I mean, the Colts are a little banged up at corner as well. But when the Chargers did score, I mean, they made them work for it. They could cause turnovers there. So the yardage might not tell the full story. Yeah, I mean, you still gave up 400-something yards at the end of the day. And there was a part where I'm like, are the Chargers in this? So can't really give the Colts an A+, completely. But I'm not going to completely dock them for the 400 yards. It was watch the game, right? They were in a perfect situation where they're going the rest of the game. They're going to throw. They got to throw every play. So they're going to get catches. They're going to get yards. Let's make them work a little bit more for it. We're going to let them catch the ball. So it worked out for the Colts, even though it looked like the Chargers maybe were going to stick around or get back in it a little bit. I keep saying every time the Colts look good, I mean, my favorite part about them is like the balance, or they can win in any way. Well, first off, Daniel Jones, everyone expecting him to kind of fall off at some point. Everyone thought it was just early season nonsense and he's going to fall off. Well, he plays the best defense he's played yet, probably. He looked even better. He looked smarter, just better overall. I love that the Colts trust him. They trust him with anything. Steichen trusts him with anything. Jonathan Taylor can do anything. Oh, you need a catch from Tyler Warren? I mean, he's always starting the game off dominant. Boom, you're going to get it. You need a catch from, I don't know, Alec Pierce in a crucial moment? You're going to get it. Michael Pittman? You're going to get it. No downs, no problem. And defensively, I mean, they made plays when they needed to, and that was clutch as well. How are the Colts so good? Coaching, number one, but they got weapons. They got playmakers, too. And you kind of look back. They've had some, like, borderline playoff teams that I felt, you look at them on paper and you look at their quarterback situations, they probably belong nowhere near that. Even if they didn't make the playoffs, they'd belong nowhere. Remember a couple years ago, they were that Texans game and they were one catch away from making the playoffs. Like, those teams had no business being that close the more you think about it. So Steichen's a really good coach, and now you added a really good defense coordinator, and now you have a quarterback that's a little more intelligent, and you can trust, a little more experienced, polished, and your weapons, you're getting the most out of them. You got playmakers everywhere on both sides of the ball. You put it that way, it's like, all right, this kind of makes some sense here, but 38 points on this defense. I know the defense has been, it hasn't been like elite recently, even though it has that potential. I'm just super impressed. And for the Chargers, just super sloppy. I originally gave them a little bit better of a grade because they kind of got back in the game and they threw for 400 plus yards, but What does that even mean, though, right? They couldn't run the ball. The run got taken away because they were down by so much. They made mistakes when they could have stayed in the game right before half. Brutal. Herbert, I know his job's a lot harder. He doesn't have much time, but he still makes some mistakes. There's still some times where it's like you got to get the ball out, right? And there's still times where you throw the ball to the wrong team, even though it's an insane interception. Was that earlier in the game? Still some mistakes there. First few weeks, I'm like, this is the MVP. And then it was like, all right, Baker's probably the MVP, but Herbert's there. But now it's like, no, he's definitely, I know his job got harder, but really, I don't want to make excuses here. So, in the defense, did not feel like a Chargers defense at all. Did not. Whatever the Colts wanted, they got it. But we know the run defense has been struggling a little bit. We kind of expected that. The worst thing they could have done was get down the way they did. So, only thing going for them is they threw for a lot of yards. And they didn't give up. Where that's the only thing they got going from C- felt pretty fitting. Cowboys dominate the Commanders 44-22 odd score. I'm going to give the Cowboys an A+. Was it perfect on defense? No, but what were you expecting? I mean, first of all, the offense was like it's been. It's pretty damn good. You scored 44 points. They did score on defense as well. The offense had the A+ part. Defense, I mean, you expect it to be the worst, what it has been, the worst defense in football, and it played pretty well. I mean, they did give up some plays, and there was part of me was like, yeah, Commanders will probably keep fighting back in this game. This could be a game, and that didn't end up being the case. But Cowboys defense stepped up, played their best game yet, made some plays. DaRon Bland back in business, the pick six. And, I mean, they made it tough for Daniels. They really made him work, and they didn't let they didn't let the Commanders run on them overly well. So I was impressed, better than expected. The offense doesn't surprise me one bit, and you see they can be even better with some guys. But look at CeeDee Lamb being back, so I'm going to give the Cowboys an A+. Commanders, and there's going to be excuses in this one. Jaden Daniels getting injured. I mean, they're already down, but him getting injured and the two top receivers being out. And yes, they're better if those receivers are in there, but it's not. I'm not hearing those excuses. It's not legit. There's some concerns with the Commanders. I kind of talked about them last week, power rankings video maybe, where it feels like the Kingsbury offense is getting game plan for it. It's getting figured out, and it's a college offense. And we talked about last week at the Bears game. It's why does every run got to take forever? Why are we in shock on every play? Why does every run got to be, well, not everyone's a read option, but everyone's got to be so slow, and it's like, just can they play under center, but just hand the damn ball off? And you start to think, Brian Robinson was underwhelming last year, so they got rid of him, and running backs underwhelming in this game, maybe last week too. I think it's the offense. I think it's the play style of this team. Got to run under center, and you question, is it Daniels? Is he just a college quarterback, can't play under center? Is it just Kingsbury's a college coach? Is it his offense? In the passing, it's starting to get predictable. It was fast and unique and different for the NFL when Kingsbury and Kyler Murray started and with the Cardinals. Teams figured it out. Same thing last year, which is a little bit different of a quarterback, maybe a lot different, but two talented quarterbacks with some legs, right? So, and that's the thing with the Commanders right now. Any doubts or questions that people had, let's see, Kingsbury, Kyler Murray, Kingsbury, Daniels, same thing going to happen. Daniels, does he have durability concerns? Twice now this year. What were they lucky last year? Was it the only reason they were in the playoffs? The only reason they were winning? Here we go with that. The defense, did they do enough on defense to make it any better this year, or did it actually get worse? Felt like they made the defense worse. All those things are, look, I'm not making statements or facts here. Every question is on the wrong side, the negative side for the Commanders right now. It's I guess the haters or the doubters are looking right now when it comes to the Commanders. Doesn't mean they're for sure right at the end of the day, but that's what it looks like right now. And even the run game, kind of Brian Robinson got the blame. I think that's a fact. I think it's just not Robinson's not the best running back in football. Obviously, he's a backup right now with the 49ers. I think it's a fact that it's that style of offense, the lack of under center, how long these runs take, too much reading and reacting type play. It's a college offense, and teams don't run it for a reason. It eventually gets figured out, so it's not looking great here. Not good in short yards. Daniels didn't play well either. I know he didn't have the best receivers out there, but he didn't play well. The defense is terrible right now. They probably played well enough to win last week, but they were so sloppy. And in this game, sloppy again and just not good enough. The Cowboys a lot better. So there are some legitimate concerns for the Commanders. I just listed them all off. Cowboys, offense keeps playing like that and the defense keeps playing like that, they're going to be a really, really good football team. And the defense didn't even play like super well. It just got to play good enough, I suppose. But very much impressed with that outing from Dallas. Packers and Cardinals in a nail biter. I mean, another game where it's a little underwhelming for Green Bay, but they pull it off. Underwhelming by what we expect from them, the standards, I suppose. And for the Cardinals, it was somewhat of a similar game as the Colts game last week, where there's throughout this game, it's like, man, the Cardinals are going to pull this upset off, or are they? I think they are, or are they? Yeah, I feel like they are. And then maybe not, but they have a final drive to go pull it off, and they can't pull it off in this one. So interesting. Both these teams B-, around that B range, honestly. We'll start with the Packers. Underwhelming because it's stale, not much offense at all in the first half, and there was times where Brissett moved the ball on them easily. I mean, they're down to Brissett, who looks better than Kyler Murray right now, by the way. But they're down to their backup quarterback technically. They're down to like their third running back, fourth, whatever you want to call. Bam Knight seems to be the best one, and the Packers are letting them do that. So it's like it's very underwhelming. But the more I look at this one, and then people were complaining about, for most part of this game, LaFleur not running the ball enough. He actually ran the ball enough. Wilson got a handful of those carries. Josh Jacobs came into this game sick, and they were worried about a calf injury. You know, when you're not feeling yourself and you have an injury, that's a little bit scary. So I think they were just not trying to overdo it. So if perfect world, they didn't really need to run the ball more. They needed to run the ball more to Jacobs, and they probably would have been better in this game, but there's a legit explanation for it. I bet you Jacobs gets a lot more against the Steelers next week in prime time. So I think they win easier if that's the case. Honestly, I know Love wasn't lights out, but they were pretty effective when they absolutely needed to be, I thought, for the most part, throwing the ball. So I think the Jacobs thing kind of disrupted the game plan, and, you know, they had a weird delay too. I don't want to make excuses, but I felt like when they absolutely needed to execute it, especially down the stretch, I love going for it on that fourth down. I think most people, and it's easy to say after it worked out for them, but I was saying it at the time. I know most people, like, you know, the announcers were like, no, they got to kick this. But if you kick it, there's still 2.5 minutes left. Teams, especially at the end of the game, but teams in general, they have no problem these days, especially with the kickoff rules, getting in field goal range. And then the Cardinals would run the clock if that's the case. You know, you can't doubt your defense completely, but you got to understand that you can't be too confident. There's such thing as too much confidence. And you have to realize if you can get that first down, which you believe you're capable of because you're the Packers, they're the Cardinals, you made plays for the most part in the good times. You get that, you can roll more clock, get around that 2-minute range, score a touchdown, and that's just beautiful. Beautiful. And you force the Cardinals to need a touchdown. So they run a risky play, throw it downfield, but it was well executed, well called. That was genius. The right decision to go for it. Even if they didn't get it and they end up losing, it's going to look bad. I would have went for it every time in that situation, given everything I explained, that situation. So I'm not going to, people were beating up LaFleur. I'm not going to beat him up too much. The Packers probably played a little bit better than what people give them credit for. It's still underwhelming because, I mean, I expect the Packers to be one of the very best teams in the NFC, and they probably are actually, but it wasn't to that level just yet, just because the Cardinals missing some guys and the Packers are supposed to be the better team there, but they pull it off. And the Cardinals, you could argue, outplayed them for maybe majority of this game, but it's pretty close to 50-50. But Brissett looking good. It just kind of brings up that weird debate, like, is he better than Kyler Murray? It kind of looks like it, but playmakers making plays. You know, Bam Knight ran the ball fairly well, which was, they finally got something going there, so that was good. Oh, back to the Packers. Micah Parsons was unreal in this game. Absolutely unreal. If you look at it that way, with how he wrecked the Cardinals, and then, they didn't do enough on offense when they made plays. You think the Packers would have no problem in this game, but no, the nail biter came down in the end. So that's kind of an issue there. But Micah Parsons was just unbelievable in this game. But Cardinals still almost had it. Defense was really solid for a portion. They kind of let them down at the end. It's kind of been a common thing. You see the Cardinals are in the driver's seat to win games in the last drive or so. Yeah, that seems to be a thing. Cardinals defense, I mean, going into the year, this is a really good defense. They have had some injuries. Jonathan Gannon, is he a good head coach? That's a big question, but he's a good defensive coach. He knows what he's doing defensively, and they got some ball players, some underrated ball players, and the defense has been good pretty much every game up until the very end, whether it's the last drive, the second to last drive. I mean, that's what happened here. Again, it's happened so much. So wonder what that is. Just bad coverage on that fourth down. It's not like they were in like prevent or anything and something like that. So it felt like they were in the Niners game where it felt like they had that game. They got that safety. They got the ball. They could have put it away on offense. They didn't, but then the Niners have to drive the whole field, and they just kind of were dumping it off. Freebies. They were playing too far off in that one. They might have done it in another game, but this one, I don't know, not so much. So Cardinals, their record could be good right now, but it's not. It's not. They could have so many more wins. So that's tough, but they outplayed the Packers for a portion of this one. Packers maybe played a little better than how the people are talking, but it was underwhelming. I still think this was a good battle. It almost felt like two pretty decent teams. So B- B range for these ones. The 49ers pull it off on Sunday Night Football, 20-10 over the Falcons. And the Falcons were very much in this game. They could have pulled it off. It was close pretty much the whole way until the end. The Niners had a 3-point lead. They score and finally put the game away. So again, the Falcons had a shot, but despite all that, it felt like the Niners outplayed them. It felt like they were the better team in this game. The score throughout the entire game just didn't really fully show it. And if the Falcons would have pulled this off, I would have been going, how did the Niners let this one slip away? The way they're playing defense, the way they're running the ball, controlling the game, they're forcing. The Falcons couldn't really run the ball super consistently or throw the ball as super consistently. So the Niners definitely were the better team throughout this game. And again, the defense lights out, especially without Nick Bosa. Now without Fred Warner against a team that's starting to heat up, an offense that's starting to heat up in Atlanta. What's keeping the defense, the way they played, especially without their guys, the way they ran the ball, McCaffrey was lights out. You want to give the Niners an A in the A range, and they are very, very close because again, the defense and McCaffrey. But why I think this game stayed closer than what it needed to be, how it needed to be, is because the 49ers had some lack of execution at times throughout this game. So that's why I feel a little more comfortable giving the Niners a B+. I actually look at the first two drives of this game for the Niners. They get the ball. When they get the ball, they're moving. You can see McCaffrey's going to have a good game, and they're throwing all right. I'm like, this feels like a scoring drive. And they get to midfield. They got to punt the ball. I kind of wish they ran the ball to McCaffrey a little bit more, but first drive, they got to punt the ball. For deep down, I felt like it was going to be a scoring drive for some reason. They get the ball back. McCaffrey's lighting it up. They're moving so easy. Probably a situation they should have ran again. They throw. Jennings shouldn't drop it, so the play call's really not the problem. It hits off his hands and just right in the lap of the Falcons. And the Falcons had a drive early where they drain the clock. They ended up getting a field goal only, but they drain the clock, and that kind of disrupted the whole game, for the Niners, but it just changed the entire game. So right there, I thought was, a big reason. There was other things, Demarcus Robinson dropping the ball, at one point. But I thought the first couple drives and the Falcons having that possession, that lengthy possession kind of, again, disrupted the game. But the 49ers, Mac Jones obviously wasn't flawless. He made some good throws in some big-time moments, some good runs in some big-time moments. That sneak seemed to be free at the end. That throw to McCaffrey on third down, if they didn't get that, and that wasn't as easy. He was open technically, but it wasn't as easy as it seemed. Good read by him. Like Kittle drew a distraction there, obviously. First game, him being back. So maybe that was a problem for the Falcons where it's like, we got to worry about this guy, but there's not a ton of film this year on him. I don't know if that was a huge case there. But like I was saying, Mac Jones made some big-time plays, I suppose, in big-time moments. But, they could have executed a little better where they could have put this game. I mean, the game could have been over, a lot earlier. The 49ers could have won pretty comfortably. So that's really the only thing kind of holding them back. But I had a feeling McCaffrey was going to go off in the run game today. That was the case, and the defense was very impressive. Corners are balling out. Bryce Huff looks pretty good. So other, guys stepping up because of injuries. Just such a well-coached team, San Francisco. And then for Atlanta, my even though they've been winning recently, my knock on them, my question for them has been they're inconsistent. From game to game, from within the game, you can't get the offense and the defense on the same page at the same time. It seems impossible. Are the wins going to keep coming if that continues to be the case? We even saw it in games they won. And that's the case once again. Offense pretty underwhelming for the most part this game. Penix did have some throws. He did have some mistakes, though. An intentional grounding before the half was pretty brutal. Maybe it didn't end up mattering, but they would have just needed a touchdown instead of two possessions at the end of the game. I thought he got away with another intentional grounding they didn't really call. Bijan couldn't get much going on the ground. He was effective through the air, just not consistent enough. And defense, they held the Niners to 20 points, but I mean, McCaffrey torched them. And that part of my prediction on why the Niners were going to win and was because they were going to run well on them. Why I was saying that, even though the Falcons, if you look at run defensive stats, they look good. But if you really look at those games, teams were pretty effective on the ground. They just were not running enough, whether it's bad play calling or they're trying to keep up with the Falcons, so they have to throw more. But you could actually run on this defense. I know doesn't mean everybody's going to run on them. Shanahan and McCaffrey's 49ers is a little different of a challenge, obviously. But it was pretty brutal. So I don't, even though the Falcons are right there in this game and they had a couple nice possessions, they could have finished a little bit better. A couple nice throws out there too. It's just not much going for them, other than that. Pass defense and some flashy plays here and there. So, a team that's going to get better because they're young and they're explosive. They got explosive playmakers on both sides of the ball. It just feels like a new, fresh team. But at the same time, they can't, again, I've been saying it, they can't get the offense and defense on the same page at the same time. They can't put together a full, complete game. They can't put together consistency on both sides of the ball for the most part. Mainly, I think more so offense. But I think teams are going to see this and they're going to maybe see what the other teams did. Like I said, they're going to go, we got to run the ball more. We got to give it a shot against this defense because that actually could be the key. So we'll see. The Falcons are tough to project going forward. You see the upside, but how consistent can they be? But good one for the Niners. Could have been a dominant one if they executed a little better. Unlucky with the Jennings situation on the second possession. But, overall good one for them on Sunday Night Football. But that'll do it for this one. Next video will be our power rankings. We'll kind of quickly recap everything, including those Monday night games within that while giving you rankings. So really excited about that. Then our weekly pick show after that and our content for Week 8. So join us. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.